illegal moves. Due to the fact that the fate of the king determines the outcome of a game of chess, there are a number of illegal moves. 1. You may not move your king into check. You may not move your king to a square commanded by the opponent's king. You may not leave your king in check voluntarily. You may not ignore a check on your king. And you may not reply to check by checking your opponent. As always, it's good to see these things in practice, so let's get right to it. In this example, the black king may not move up a square in line with the rook. In other words, the king may never expose himself to check. But here is an example where the king can move one square up, because the bishop is blocking or interposing the rook's movement. Thus, the king would not be exposing himself to check. This is an impossible position, and I'll explain why. You've learned already that the king cannot move into check. But if the kings are right next to each other, they're simultaneously in check. And you might think, well, I'm one square away from putting my opponent in check with my own king. It's not possible. It's a paradox, obviously, because by checking with your king, you are putting yourself in check as well. So by the same token, since neither king can occupy a square adjacent to the opponent's king, it follows that pieces protected by one king cannot be captured by the hostile king. Consider that any piece being protected by a king is but one square away from it, and thus the hostile king would also end up being one square away from the opponent's king. An impossible situation. This situation illustrates the point that you cannot ignore check on your king, even when your queen is being threatened. And this point was made in a previous game, but in case you've forgotten, we're going to play this one out as well. Black is in check, but at the same time his queen is attacked. Reluctant to lose the valuable piece, he would like to save the queen, but it is impossible. He must get out of check. Black must lose his queen. He has two options. He can either move his king or capture the checking pawn with his queen. Here, the king has elected to move out of check. He must sacrifice his queen. The pawn takes the queen, and at least the king can gain some revenge by capturing the pawn. Black is in check. It is illegal for him to disregard check and in turn check white's king. The prior check must be disposed of immediately. The black king cannot be left in check. You must get your king out of check first and try and get your opponent in check second.